So I'm wondering if anybody has anything that's just kind of immediately popping into mind. I'm going to unspotlight myself because I want to see everybody. Did anything come to mind from last week's session? Were you thinking about anything? Was anything like pertinent to you or helpful or not helpful? Anything you want to share? No? Lou, anything?
No, I'm
Charlotte?
afraid not.
I do accept this is a very busy week for everybody. And it's also solstice, so don't underestimate the shift and change that the stars and the moon have on us. We're so kind of like separated from the stars and the moon and the nature most of the time. We're not aware of the pull of it on ourselves. And Mercury's in retrograde. Okay. Thanks, Kimberly. So I've been staring at we have quite a bit to do tonight. Renunciation, attachment, bodhicitta, compassion, and such a small amount of time. And also I feel this group has fairly advanced in their studies. They've done all these kinds of things before. So I really wanted to give you an experiential session again, including some meditation. So we'll just see how far we get. But I really wanted to talk about renunciation from Lama Yeshe's point of view. And I've got some words of Lama Yeshe that I'd like to start by reading to you. And hi, Patrick. And there is one meditation. It's kind of puzzling. I've been staring at this for about 10 minutes, thinking, now, why on earth did they put this particular meditation in this particular part of the course? But we're going to do it to start because it's fairly simple and it'll help just kind of like focus everybody in, including myself. So there's quite a bit of transition going on here. This room looks nice and tidy, but the other two rooms down there, and the bathroom's tidy. The other two rooms are a little messy because I'm switching rooms with a friend who's about to move in. And it's also an opportunity for me to clear out and pare down my stuff. When I arrived in America, I came with a 21-inch suitcase and a 32-inch suitcase, and that's all I had. And everything just kind of exploded. And I'm not sure how. And then when I left Rinpoche's house, I had a few boxes, basically a carload of stuff. And we managed to get it all in the back of this. Friend of mine had one of those square cars. I don't know what they're called. Kia, I think they are. And they're kind of very square. And we shoved everything in there and all fit. And then I get up here and then somehow it all kind of expanded again. So I'm trying to kind of get it all under control. Anyway, so we are now moving from this period of being in the kind of a darkened time, and now the sun. Well, I think we have about a week of where everything just kind of is homeostasis. It's sort of just kind of sitting like this. And then gradually the light will come more and more and more. And it's very interesting to me how it's almost like one end of the day is longer than the other for a while, and then everything else starts to catch up. It's just pretty curious. I never really used to pay terribly much notice until I came to America where it's cold, and then all of a sudden I'm wanting the days to be a little bit lighter anyway. So let's just get settled. And also I want this to be quite a kind of an interactive session. So please, even if you're feeling too shy to talk, try and if you have anything that you want to share, feel free to do so. Put your little hand up or the little hand on the thing, or just mute yourself, or take your video on, put your video on. And let's just get settled. So feet flat on the floor. If you are sitting at your computer, about a hip's width apart, shoulders are aligned with the hips, and just imagine your spine is just this string of pearls of light stretching from the base all the way up through the crown of the head and beyond. And just really lengthen the spine, your ears aligning with the shoulders. You can stretch the back of your neck if you wish. Take your head from side to side, just very gently kind of lengthening the side of the neck, allowing your shoulders to sort of drop down. And remember to breathe. And then just as you take your awareness to the crown of the head, just allow some softening to happen, releasing the muscles, the tension. Relax the forehead, the eyes, the nose, the cheeks, the mouth, the jaw, back of the head, and the neck, and allow the shoulders and shoulder blades just to drop. And relax your throat and your chest and the belly and all of your limbs, and just allow yourself to go inwards. Again, noticing the breath. And be aware if there are sounds in your environment, just allowing those sounds to be there, trying not to follow them with the mind. And you might notice, and maybe take notice in the day at the point at which you hear a sound and your mind goes out towards it. So allow your mind to stay inside and be settled. Allow the mind to steady. And notice the thoughts that are arising. Some of you may have a very exciting Christmas day planned with long lost relatives and friends and phone calls and such. Others might find it a little bit more overwhelming. So wherever you're at today, however it is you're turning up today, just be kind with yourself. Just know that that's okay. It's all right. That's just where you're at. And you'll notice, for those of you who come regularly to the meditations in the evening, we do this every night. And what I'm noticing for myself, and I hope everybody else is noticing, is that the mind is extraordinarily different from one day to the next. I always find it amazing. It's like one day I am stuck in like a Ferris wheel of, worry or this or that. And the next day it's all gone. And I'm just like, this is so crazy, like my mind is just doing its own thing, but I do have control and I can rein it in. So this is just a lovely way to see what's happening in the mind, just to look and examine and be objective, knowing that it will change if it's something that's uncomfortable for you. Again, and breathe. And we will do a little meditation. Hopefully we'll get time for it on equanimity. But I'm just going to start us off tonight by remembering our friend, our enemy, and our stranger. They're all equal. The ones we love and adore, want to take care of. Those people we can see all their excellent qualities, their potential, their Buddha potential. And then there's those that we don't like so much and we wonder how on earth. And then there's us strangers. We don't particularly care. So hopefully we'll also get time for a Tong Len meditation tonight, another short one. So let's see, we've got quite a bit to do. So let's just see where we get to. So this friend, this enemy, this stranger that can change place, and you may have had this experience in your life. Some people fall madly in love and then they marry and they think they're going to be there together forever. And then the next few years down the track, they become separated and they become either a stranger Maybe they become a friend, still a friend, or maybe they're just an enemy. And then you have sometimes a stranger that comes into your life and has this profound impact on you. So things change all the time. So they're all equal in their wish to be happy, their wish to be free from suffering and having this Buddhahood, this potential for Buddhahood. So now we're going to start a meditation that is entitled Mind as a Knower. So we've done quite a bit of work on the mind in the different meditation classes. So we've also in Introduction to Mindfulness, we looked at the mind a little bit. And here, let's just think first before we start our motivations, like what are we hoping to get out of today's session? Why did we all turn up? Even myself, because I didn't have to do this course, but I wanted to. So reflect on your motivation. And move your attention from the breath. And now become aware of the sounds around you. The smells in your room. I'm wondering if people in your house are cooking. It's that time of day here. Maybe you're aware of shape and color. Do you feel the sensation of one hand resting in the other, or the sensation of your hands on your thighs or your knees or resting in your lap? And what can you taste right now? What thoughts are you having? So just become slowly aware of this, almost like when we're waking up in the morning, and just give yourself a chance to take it all in. You don't really need to look around with the eyes or move the body. Just use the power of your mind, your awareness, and take in the scope of what the mind is knowing just as we sit here. What are you aware of? And become aware of whatever sense objects or thoughts are appearing to you in your mind. And notice how the mind appears to reside within the body. And now notice how the scope of the mind's awareness and knowing extend far beyond the limits of the physical body. Generate awareness of the mind as distinct from the body and see if you can notice the differentiation between the physical world and the mind that is knowing it. It's almost like when we, in the mindfulness meditation course, we were, touching the body. So if you want now, just hold your own hands. So put one hand in the other, as if you're holding your own hand. And what you would feel is, how does your left hand feel holding your right hand? How does your right hand feel holding your left hand? Do you notice the feeling of the right hand, the skin touching the skin of the left? And then notice the skin of the left hand touching the palm of the right, holding the palm of the right. It's almost like you have to do acrobatics with the brain. So just rest in this awareness without going into details about all the different phenomena that are coming in to your awareness, just staying with the mere experience of knowing, of understanding, of experiencing. So some teachings compare the mind to a mirror. You may have heard that analogy used. One of the ones I would is also the water analogy of water. So when the water is calm and clear, you see a clear reflection of the tree, almost like a mirror reflection of the tree and the birds and the sky. You can see color. But the minute something disturbs the surface of the water or the current underneath, it all gets distorted. So as we continue the meditation, see if you can note this reflective quality of the mind, that which is simply knowing experience, just reflecting what is arising naturally. And try now to expand the mind, staying open to the fullness of what the mind can be aware of and what the mind can be aware of simultaneously. When you're driving, you're aware, particularly on the freeway, you're aware of so many things. The surface of the road, the people behind, the people in front, the guy, the woman who's swerving in and out of traffic, what looked like it might be dangerous. You're aware of what your exit's going to be, how far away it is. You might be having a conversation in the car, on the phone, or with a friend. You might be aware of the temperature in the car. Maybe it's raining, the road is slippery. So your mind is managing all of these things as well as driving. So if in this meditation you find you're getting a bit disoriented, or just bring the mind back to the breath. And then be aware of the mind that is being aware of the breath. Maintain awareness of the reflective, expansive, knowing quality of the mind as much as possible. So we know a lot more than we think we do. We're aware of far more than we are realizing. So slowly bring your attention back to the body sitting on its cushion or in a chair in your meditation place, and allow the mind to settle back onto the breath. Just inhaling and exhaling. Just think this is something that you can do. You can be aware as you're walking around, noticing. Being aware of the mind and what it's taking in and what it knows. Maybe there's an absence of a sound that you are used to hearing at a certain time that tells you a neighbor is coming home or going to work. And the absence of that sound creates some kind of story in your mind. Oh, I wonder why they didn't go to work today. They normally use their car at 5:30 in the morning. Okay, just relax. I'm very curious to know what people think about this particular meditation. And how was it for you? Hello, Lou. Yes. Unmute yourself.
The thing that hit me was that when we were expanding our mind, I tried expanding it inwards.
Oh, interesting.
And it's amazing. All the memories that are in there, I know I haven't lost any of them. It's just a matter of indexing them.
That's
But
amazing.
the ones that pop in, and you talked about reflections, I noticed that the memories that didn't have a lot of emotion to them were very clear. The ones that had a very heavy emotional load were kind of blurry to the point where it was hard to tell what was real and what was not real, what was added, and
In the story.
yeah, exactly.
Wow. That's really cool. I never thought about that, expanding the mind inwards. That's a beautiful way to think about it. Thank you. Anyone else have anything they want to share? No? Okay.
I would.
Yes.
I would.
Who's that? Phyllis?
Phyllis.
Can you
Yeah.
put your camera on so I can see you?
Okay, I'm kind of slouching.
That's okay. You can slouch away, my friend.
Oh, thank you. So I'm having a lot of anxiety anyways, but this isn't new to the meditation. We've talked about it a little bit before in this class, but when I go, for me to really get really deeply into the meditation, I'm like in third eye, I'm really here. And I can tell when I'm really there. All at once I'll say, oh, I'm really there. But that brings up anxiety and fear. It's like, what am I going to find in there? I mean, okay, that's it.
There's some places in our mind that we sort of don't want to go alone. We might need a guide to get us in there.
I thought that too, but I also thought about why it's easier to meditate in a group
Mm-hmm.
than alone, right? That it's not so scary, right?
Right.
Like that.
And you can also understand and maybe appreciate that everybody is going through the same experience, most likely, something similar. I was very curious last night. We did a little solstice event here. And yes, Jay, in a second, let me just finish, but we'll come to you. And everybody went around. I think the teacher asked us to think about what it was that we would like to release over the next 12 months. And we can do that exercise here. I'd be really curious. You don't have to speak it if you don't want. You can just write it down. So maybe we'll do a little meditation after Jay's spoken. And what was just mind-blowing for me is that every single thing that a person said could have been applied to me as well. And I was just like, nothing was unique in everything that everyone was saying. So I just thought that was really extraordinary and in a way somewhat comforting too, to know that we're all kind of in the same boat, really. Some is a little bit further on the path than the others, but, some a little bit more confident than others. But I think one of the things that this teacher is, she's older. She's maybe 69. She's an older yoga teacher, therapeutic yoga teacher. So she's the teacher of my yoga teacher. And very accomplished, published, internationally renowned, And then she was talking about feeling like she hadn't done enough, or she wasn't good enough, and I was just like, wow. I mean, if you're not feeling like that. So it was interesting. And I think everybody I've spoken to since then about that can relate to that. So anyway, we'll try that. We might do that little exercise. We lost somebody. What happened? Or maybe he didn't like the meditation. Okay. Did he say anything? Lou? No? Let's have a look. No. Oh, well, never mind. Jay, did you want to say something?
I read something very interesting yesterday, and I can't find the link, but it was on the Lama Yishi site, and it was by Rinpoche Zoka, that said that when contemplating emptiness, bodhisattvas of the lower level, their response is fear. The higher level, it's bliss. And I thought, okay, so when I go to contemplate emptiness and fear comes up, I'm not saying I'm a lower level bodhisattva, but at least I know I'm in good company. Yeah. So that was heartening to me. So I just thought I would throw that in because it just amazed me. That was actually because I thought it was just me having, an idiosyncratic reaction.
Yeah.
But it's not. So that was heartening. That's all. Thank you.
So you and Phyllis are low-level bodhisattvas. Well, thank you. Thank you for
Lois,
coming.
I mean, Phyllis, yes. Jay, not so much. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to do this little exercise that might be helpful for all of us. And you can write down if you have a journal, but just contemplate your past 12 months. And maybe you can just go from, January 1st through the winter for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, summer in the Southern, and then contemplate, spring, autumn, summer, winter. What were you doing? How were you using your time? And think, what is it that you would wish to release? It could be, anything. I won't feed you. I'll just. And what quality would you like to expand in yourself? So maybe you have a quality of courage that sometimes gets a little bit, or wisdom that sometimes gets a little bit pushed off to one side by fear or anxiety or self-doubt. So what would you like to expand and what would you like to shrink, to release, to let go? I'm sorry, Judith is emptying the dishwasher and she's over 90 and a little shaky. So if there's any banging, that's what's going on. Okay. So did anybody have anything that they would like to share about what they'd like to release or what they'd like to maybe expand in the coming year? Lou, you look like you're about to say something.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
What I'd like to release is this nagging guilt that whatever I'm doing is not enough. That there's so much to do. And so if I sit down and watch a TV show for an hour, I feel totally guilty and I hit myself over the head with it. I would just like to be more content.
Yeah.
And just accept it. Sometimes you do need time for yourself.
Exactly. You totally do. And maybe, just watching some kind of bingeable show is exactly what your mind needs in order to relax. And, I know Benawara watches Netflix. She talked about it. And I know that she also probably does a million and one things at the same time. But, she shows this aspect of relaxing and needing to relax and taking time out. So it's a good lesson. And then I think if you sort of say to yourself, well, I'm going to watch this show for 2 hours and I'm not going to give myself a hard time about it, I'm just going to enjoy it, then hopefully you will. It was very interesting today. We had a number of visitors. One of them was a nun who kind of spends a bit of time up here occasionally. So she came around to show Judith her dog. And she was talking about not feeling enough or not doing enough or not. And I was so shocked because this person has been a director of a center and done so much and offered so much and been very present, and then I sort of said to her, I talked to her about this session that we had last night and how it seemed to be a common thing that people hadn't done enough. And I said, but you've done so much. How could you possibly imagine you haven't done enough and you've given up so much? And I could see sort of some emotion in her face, like it touched her somehow. And I just thought, gosh, everybody feeling this? We need to stop that. Anyway, I'm glad you're aware of it. Anybody else have these kind of feelings that they maybe want to release? Oh, yes, Jay.
Okay. One of my biggest impediments is anger. It's huge.
Anger at?
Okay. A variety of things. Let's see. Injustice. Businesses that are just doing bad things. Frankly, the folks who rush past here on the dirt road.
Oh, yeah, that would annoy me, actually.
I have vivid fantasies. The dust is unbelievable.
Yeah, I know.
I have vivid fantasies that I won't go into about that. But I do try to reframe that and say, okay, they're just doing this to remind me to get enlightened. That's the only reason they're running fast by. And yeah, so that's my project. And that's been my project, quite frankly. I can remember being like 6 years old and going to confession in the Catholic Church. I had nothing to confess because I was a relatively good kid, but anger, that was non-ending for me. So it's still with me. So that's what I need to work on for 2024.
You want to release anger.
I want to detach from it. Definitely.
And it sounds like it's been an old friend for many years.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like a relationship that you're going to need to sort of say goodbye to.
It feels like it's one of the more intrinsic parts of my personality and who I think I am. Very attached to it. Because the other thing, of course, is that it energizes you. You will take action.
Yeah.
And mostly I take action for good things from the anger. So there's that aspect to it as well, righteous wrath and all that. But I do need to just dial it down and use it with wisdom.
Exactly, yeah.
How I do.
Just like kind of vomiting over everybody.
Yeah. So
that's excellent awareness, you guys. Well done.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to share anything, say anything? Before we talk about renunciation. Because renunciation is also about releasing as well. So I want to read to you what Lama Yeshe said about it, because he says it much better than me. Okay. All right. So if you want, you can just settle into a nice, comfortable meditation posture, seated position. And then bring the mind to the breath. Just noticing the sensation of the air as you're inhaling and exhaling. Just be aware of the mind and what it's doing, where it's going. And just notice what the mind does as you're listening to Lama Yeshe's words. All of us want to be free from ego, mind, and the bondage of samsara. What binds us to samsara and makes us unhappy is not having renunciation. What is renunciation? What makes us renounced? The English word renounce is linguistically tricky. Renouncing sensory pleasure does not mean throwing nice things away. Even if you do, it doesn't mean that you renounce them. Renunciation is a totally inner experience. Renunciation of samsara does not mean you throw samsara away, because your body and your nose are samsara. How can you throw your nose away? Therefore, renunciation means less craving. It means being more reasonable instead of putting too much psychological pressure on yourself and acting crazy. The reason we are unhappy is because we have extreme craving for sense objects and we grasp at them. We are seeking to solve our problems, but we are not seeking in the right place. The right place is our own ego grasping. All we have to do is loosen that tightness. We need to have less grasping at sense pleasures because most of the time our craving, desire for worldly pleasure does not give us satisfaction. It leads to more dissatisfaction and to psychologically crazier reactions. If you have the wisdom and method to handle objects of the five senses perfectly so that they do not bring negative reactions, it is all right for you to touch them. As human beings, we should be capable of judging for ourselves how far we can go into the experience of sense pleasure without getting mixed up and confused. We should judge for ourselves. It's like French wine. Some people cannot take it at all. Even though they would like to, their nervous systems don't allow it. Other people can take a little, others can take a bit more, and some can take a lot. I want you to understand why Buddhist scriptures completely forbid monks and nuns from drinking wine. It's not because wine is bad or grapes are bad. Grapes and vines are beautiful. The color of red wine is fantastic. But because we are ordinary beginners on the path to liberation, we can easily get caught up in negative energy. That's the reason. It's not that the wine itself is bad. This is a good example of renunciation. Once a great Indian saint went into a bar and drank until the bartender finally asked him, "How are you going to pay?" The saint replied, "I'll pay when the sun sets." But the sun didn't set, and the saint kept on drinking. The bartender wanted his money, but somehow the saint controlled the sunset. These kinds of esoteric higher realizations are beyond the comprehension of the ordinary people like us, but this saint was able to control the sun and drank perhaps 30 gallons of wine, and he didn't even have to make pee-pee. Renunciation of samsara is not only the business of monks and nuns. Whoever is seeking liberation or enlightenment needs renunciation of samsara. If you check your own daily experiences, you will see that you are caught up in small pleasures. We Buddhists consider such grasping to be a tremendous hang-up and of not much value. However, the Western way of thinking, I should have the best, the biggest, is similar to the Buddhist attitude that we should have the best, most lasting, perfect pleasure rather than spending our lives fighting for the pleasure of a glass of wine. Therefore, the grasping attitude and useless actions have to be abandoned, and the things that make your life meaningful and liberated have to be actualized. We are capable of comprehending what kind of mind brings everyday problems and is not worthwhile. This is the way that meditation allows us to correct our attitudes and actions. Don't think my attitudes and actions come from my previous karma, therefore I can't do anything. That's a misunderstanding of karma. Don't think I am powerless. Human beings do have power. We have the power to change our lifestyles, change our attitudes, and change our habits. We call that capacity Buddha potential, God potential, or whatever you want to call it. That's why Buddhism is simple. It's a universal teaching that can be understood by everyone. The opposite of renunciation is the extreme mind that we have most of the time, the grasping, craving mind that gives us an overestimated projection of objects which has nothing to do with reality. However, Buddhism is not saying that objects have no beauty whatsoever. They do have beauty. A flower has a certain beauty. but that beauty is only conventional. However, the craving mind projects something that has nothing to do with that object. That mind is hallucinating, deluded, and holding the wrong entity. Without intensive observation or introspective wisdom, we cannot discover this. For that reason, Buddhist meditation includes checking. We call checking in this way analytical meditation. It involves logic and philosophy. Analytical meditation is a scientific way of analyzing our own experience. Okay, so what did you understand from what Lama Yeshe said about renunciation? Lou. You get a gold star today, Lou.
Wednesday evening, Geshe said that renunciation is compassion for yourself.
Yes.
He went on to elaborate, saying that it's compassion for yourself to be free from grasping at the sense objects of samsara. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Yes, thank you. And it's something that I'm surprised it wasn't in there. It's something also Lama Yeshe used to say is, renunciation means to have compassion, is about having compassion for yourself. So you're also not only are you renouncing the objects of samsara, and be really clear, it's like Lama Yeshe is saying, you're not being asked to give up your nice phone or your nice watch or your nice dog or cat or friend, girlfriend, boyfriend. What Lama Yeshe is suggesting we need to renounce is the attachment and grasping at those things in our life. So you can be a multimillionaire and have all the wonderful enjoyments in the world. But if you're grasping and attached and connected to them in a way that's really unhealthy, that's what you need to renounce. So in order to renounce all of that, you need to be compassionate towards yourself and go, hey, come on, you need to give up. That's an addiction. And because the point of that too is when it comes to the time of your death and you're grasping and clinging on to your beautiful things that you can't take with you, you're going to have a horrible time. So Kimberly's saying, so wait, you're attached to your mind. It's never the objects, it's always my mind. Kimberly, can you say a bit more about that? Oh, yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, of course we all do. That's exactly what happens. Our mind gets attached to the objects. Yes. And you're not alone. I mean, this is why addiction is such a horrible, you can see how addiction affects whole families, whether it's addiction to sugar or alcohol or drugs. You can see how destructive it is. Rachel, nice to hear from you, Rachel. Where are you? There you are.
Hi.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I went a little crazy and I knew it wouldn't make me happy and I knew I was doing the wrong thing. And well, wrong thing. I knew it wasn't going to make me happy and it just the worse I am feeling about myself, self-worth. So I went out and spent, a bunch of money because I needed a bigger Louis Vuitton bag because I felt worse about myself than I did last year. And I knew that. And of course, I feel ashamed to even carry this stupid thing around. And what an idiot to spend so much money. And I'm very thrifty. I save all my pennies and I just, and so I was thinking about that. And but I do have to cut myself slack. I mean, what's done is done.
Can you return it?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, there's no returns on it. My grandmother used to say, "A fool and her money," but I knew I wasn't feeling good about myself, and I went to the mall and had it in my head. I need a Louis Vuitton and a bigger one than and I need this and that, and it actually just brought me more misery, more sorrow,
Yeah.
suffering. So.
It's interesting your comment, like you thought you really wanted that bag, and then now you feel embarrassed to walk around with it. And
Because I think everybody can see that, oh, the more worthless she is, the bigger bag she needs.
I don't think people think that, but that's the story you have going on. So then, you could also sell it on eBay, but if you really wanted to, you would probably take a loss. You could also keep it and sell it on eBay in 10 years' time, and you might make some money back on it. And so there are many things that you can do to deal with this. But my suggestion would be that now you've bought it, to stop giving yourself a hard time and just go and enjoy it. And whatever it is that you wanted from that bag, or that you thought that you were going to get from that bag, is just allow it into your aura, and just use it and enjoy it and have fun with it, because you've got it now, But if you really feel horrible about it, just sell it and cut the loss. And
No, I've forgiven myself
well, there you go.
for it.
Are you enjoying it?
Yes, and it is a reminder, though. I think it's also a good reminder to look at it and know that that bag, as big and empty as it is, it's not going to fill
Yeah, that's
fill
true.
the void. So.
And I think it's a really, that just sounds like a wonderful lesson as well, because, okay, so you've got it and you can see all of that in yourself, it's a lovely analogy. This is a nice big bag isn't going to fill the void. And it's also too, like when you have you get a new iPhone, and initially it's like you get into the store and you get the new iPhone. It's nice. You've got a new camera and it works beautifully and all the things work together, and you get it home and it becomes a bit of a drag, because then you have to set everything up again. Do you know what I mean? And then gradually, and about a week later, you just take the phone. It's like a phone. I mean, it isn't anything really special. But when you first get it, it's like this super duper thing. Anyway, I don't know. We get very attached to our objects. But, after all, when you first get it, you're kind of like stroking, making sure you get the right case so it doesn't kind of get scratched, and you have a little bit of a screensaver. And then about 6 months down the track, you just don't really care. You're dropping it. You're sort of, do you know what I mean? And
Well,
then
it's a short high.
it's a short high, exactly. And then, some people do have addiction to spending money, and some people have an addiction to we have different kinds of addictions to different things. And usually it is about self-worth. It's exactly what it's about filling a void, or about trying to make ourselves feel better. And there's nothing wrong with that, really. But perhaps the wisest way to make ourselves feel better is maybe not that, because in the end, we know that it's going to end up making us feel even worse than we did before. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, anyone else?
Yeah. Okay. What comes up for me is renouncing something is more connected to rejection. And I find
like pushing away.
that's right, and like, oh, that thing is horrible. Yeah, reject it. What works better if I think of detachment. So there's nothing wrong with the item itself or whatever. I just need to separate myself from it. Yeah, that's in my interest to do. And when I have that mentality, it works a lot better for me. Does that make sense?
I want you to say that again.
Okay. So rejection, I guess, includes an element. To renounce something is rejection. It includes an element of the thing itself is bad, so I'm going to reject it, right? Instead, I find that if I just, and it's more of a concentration on my own mind, I'm going to separate myself out from that item. There's nothing wrong with that item. It's, whatever. It's my clinging that is the problem. So I want to detach, I want to disconnect from it. And that works a lot better for me in terms of, I can't quite explain why, but that thought pattern works better for me in handling things.
Can you give me an example?
Okay. Let's take the bottle of wine. If I say, okay, I'm never ever going to drink again, right? I'm going to reject it. It's horrible. It's bad. Horrible. I'm blaming the wine instead of looking at myself and going, hang on, you've got an attachment there. You've got a pull, right? And there are various reasons for that. Both my parents were alcoholics, so I have a definite kind of almost genetic draw to alcohol. So instead of saying the wine is bad, it's my mind and my connection with that is the bad thing. So I need to disconnect from the bottle of wine.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's excellent. Well done.
Thank you.
So the thing also too that's extremely difficult about products that are available for purchase that we also need to be aware of is that we're all highly susceptible to some extremely clever, psychologically manipulative marketing. And, this is where Rachel was coming unstuck, is because she felt that she needed a kind of a pick-me-up because she wasn't feeling confident or worthy. So, these very clever marketing people who get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get people to buy stuff, which is, Louis Vuitton have, put themselves in the world market as this kind of exclusive bag maker. They do shoes, they do all kinds of things, purses. And so, of course, when I was in Australia before I was a nun, I also used to like to buy Louis Vuitton. And I still have a little purse that a friend bought for me many, many years ago. And I keep it, I don't use it. But anyway, what I'm saying is we can't give ourselves too hard of a time. We just have to be aware that it's not also our attachment is, it's kind of wicked the extent to which our attachment is being played upon. But this is how these people feel they need to make money. So they'll do whatever they need to do. They'll look at whatever studies they need to look at, whatever is going on in the community at the time. They will push their product in that direction. So if there's a Black Lives Matter movement going on at the time, or transgender, so you'll notice a lot of the high-end stores are, they'll promote. So there's one company called Arc'teryx. They promote some of their clothing. It looks so gender neutral. You don't know whether the model is male or female. So they're just constantly keeping up with what is going on in the world and how is the best way to manipulate people to disconnect themselves from their money and give it to me. So I think we can also be aware of how clever these companies are at getting us to separate ourselves from our money. And so we shouldn't feel too bad and just be aware of the extent to which we might be being manipulated. And that's not to make us feel even worse about ourselves, but there comes a certain amount of subliminal manipulation that, and it just kind of somehow it's just kind of this is why we feel so bad afterwards, because it's a bit of a fake high, and we somehow we know that. Anyway, does anyone have anything to say about that? Has that been anyone's experience, having your attachment manipulated?
I think it's just silly to think that a piece of clothing or a purse, is going to make people think better of you.
I know, I know, right? But
ridiculous. Yeah, but I mean, I think that's what since I was feeling not worthy, and less than, I guess that was my way of saying, look at me, look how fabulous I am. But then it just made me feel like, oh, cringy, like, about it, really, because I know that that's what's going on, inside. But yes, the marketing is very smooth, and in this culture, success is equated, with the sports car and the Louis Vuitton and the Chanel and all of that, and keeping, comparing yourself with others. There's a lot of that, and keeping up with the Joneses, and that's what is success, is, money and power, basically. And don't I look wonderful and powerful with this big bag swinging around? So maybe they're kind of like my balls, excuse my language.
well, you can put a brick in that bag and swing it if someone tries to attack you. So there you go.
Oh, well, I did make sourdough bread this morning that could,
there you go.
it could double for a brick. It was not a success, but yes, I definitely, yeah, they market, to our insecurities.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting. We already come into this kind of attachment-filled world, and then we're kind of we're preyed upon. And all of a sudden you start to think that that's kind of a good idea. And sometimes it's good to step back and go, wait a second, how is that a good idea? Is this really a good idea for me? And I see, of course, I go to yoga, and I see a lot of, people coming to yoga. Most of them are women. And we have this small group of women who come. There's to this person's house in Tiburon, and Tiburon's a kind of a fairly wealthy area here, so it's a private group. And some of the people that are coming, some of the people are there are just craving for something other than what their regular life is giving them. And you can see it doesn't necessarily mean just because you do have all of that. So this one woman, she has a number of houses, and one of the houses that we do the yoga on the deck in, it's empty most of the time. But she has all the worry of, the roof and the this and the that, and someone broke in the other day and pooed on the floor, you don't know, in the swimming pool in the garden. And it's just it's a lot of headache. The more things you have, the more headache you have, because you've got to take care of them. So it's sort of like we need to strike a balance somewhere. But it's such a false thing, is, like, well, once I get here, I've made it. And then you get there and you still have that same set of problems that you had before you got there. Or in fact, maybe your problems are even more because you have these things that you've got to look after now. So I don't know. It's just it's very, very interesting. And sometimes this, the happiest times of people's lives are often, when you go on a trip and you spend all this time planning and saving money, and I'm going to wear this and I'm going to wear that and I'm going to do that pair of shoes and this pair of shoes and da-da-da, and I'm going to need this rain jacket and da-da, I'm going to need all these different things. And then did you ever have a time where you somehow got stuck somewhere because the flight was delayed and you didn't have anything except for maybe a toothbrush and a pair of change of underwear. And that kind of, and I often reflect on those times because I've had that a few times, and I'm just like, why can't I pack like that normally? Because, the times where I only had a couple of days worth of clothes and I had got stuck somewhere for a week, I was completely fine. So anyway, I don't understand. But it does seem to me that we have this kind of like really strong attachment that is we're completely susceptible to being manipulated into thinking. Even when you see a season coming out and all of a sudden everyone's wearing orange trim something because that happens to be the thing that is out there in the universe right now. Or what makes square framed sunglasses or large sunglasses more fashionable than small ones, just because who said so? And then we get attached that we have to have that thing. It just, this is very interesting. It's crazy. And look at the time again. So I'm going to talk a little bit about attachment here. Lamy, she did say some things about attachment. Let's just see. I hope it's not too long. This is very long. I'm just going to read you a little bit about what Lamy she said. Venerable Rabina talks about attachment as being a honey-covered razor blade, and that is exactly what Rachel was experiencing with her beautiful new bag. That it's a honey-covered razor blade because it caused her some distress. But now I'm suggesting, Rachel, you enjoy that bag and you just beat all those mean old advertising people. So Lamy Yeshe says that understanding attachment in our lives from the time we are born until now, we have been dealing with attachment. All our problems, our mental problems, external problems, internal problems, whatever we consider to be a problem comes from attachment. Understanding this fact is wisdom. It's the path to liberation, the vehicle that carries you to everlasting, peaceful enlightenment. These are not merely dry words. They derive from life experiences. This is why Lord Buddha always emphasized understanding as the path to liberation. You can prove logically that attachment is the principal cause of all your problems. These days in the West, there are many books that talk about the magic and mystery of Tibet. This Lamy Yeshe was alive many years ago. He died many years ago, but that you can still see about this. Therefore, when people see that a Tibetan Lama is coming to give a meditation course, they think, oh, maybe I can learn some magic. That's kind of interesting. They don't think that when you get a Westerner coming. Your mind is already magic. The magic of attachment has been with you from the moment you were born. Magic is not the path to liberation. Instead, you need simply to understand what your life is, how complications arise, what makes you happy. Then you are not dreaming. You are down to earth and realistic about the way to develop your mind. With that attitude, you won't be disappointed. In reality, all false actions, misery, unhappiness, and unenjoyable energy comes from the self-cherishing thought of attachment. Okay, just going to leave that. What do you understand about attachment? We'll be talking about it for a little while. Lamy Yeshe also talked about it as an inner thief that steals your happiness.
It's just a lie we tell ourselves.
Yeah. Totally. We get attachment to ideas as well. It's not just things. So like Jay was saying about her dealing with her anger and wanting to release or letting go, renounce her anger, is she's strongly invested in things being done in a just and proper way. So she's been a bit of an activist since she was a child, by the sounds of it. And as Jay said earlier, in some respects, the energy of anger allows things to get done. And Ben Rabina talked about this when she was doing in her activist days, when she was in London. Her and her sister were doing quite a bit of work and activism. But what she realized that it didn't really get her anywhere. You can shout and scream as much as you like, but it doesn't change the world. So there's also a little bit of an idea of generosity in here as well. So there was this, Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to, there used to be the Kata line, and people would come, particularly, in Asia, you would see people would come with very expensive gifts. And sometimes I wondered if they were just kind of showing off to each other. But sometimes people would bring, really expensive watches and, expensive little statues and things like that. And you can guarantee that Lama Zopa Rinpoche would give that gift to the next person. And so if you were going with this idea that you'd spent, thought a lot about a gift and gave it to Rinpoche, and then the next thing that happens is Rinpoche gives it away, are you grasping at this idea that you wanted to give that thing to Rinpoche, not to John over there? It's like, how come my gift's with John now? I didn't want to give it to John. I wanted to give it to Rinpoche. So this practice of generosity is once you give something to someone, it doesn't matter what they do with it once they've received it. So you shouldn't be attached to the idea of a gift. And you shouldn't be attached to someone doing with your gift what you expect them to do. Or, Venerable Rabina would talk about you can't give $20 or $5 to a street person and then go tell them what they need to do with that money. So you practice generosity without any attachment. And then this idea of love. We think, oh, we're madly in love, right? And then the person you're madly in love with all of a sudden goes off and becomes madly in love with someone else, not you. And what happened to your madly in love then? I mean, if you love a person, true love wants a person to be happy. So if they're happy without you, then you should be happy for them. If you really, really love them, but if you just attach to them, you're going to be mad as hell when they're happy with someone else and not with you. So there's this idea that compassion overcomes attachment. So then that also means compassion for the self, letting go of renunciation, compassion for the person that was once your spouse or lover or very dear best friend, who now finds that they're happier with hanging out with someone else. It's a tough one. So we didn't even get to bodhicitta, but I wanted you to have, there's a very sweet meditation about love. So I think I'd like to finish with that. And I'm sorry we didn't get finished. Does anybody want to share anything before I start that meditation? Lou, yeah, I always see you ready to talk. It's very good. Go ahead. Did you have something you wanted to say, or am I just guessing? Oh, you didn't? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Anybody else have anything to say, anything at all about what we've been talking about today? Just unmute yourselves. I'm just looking for nothing. Okay. I'm not finding it. Just wait 1 second. Hang on a sec, almost there. Okay. So just settle into your meditation seated position. So just bring yourself in and try and relax the mind. And imagine all living beings around you. So have your mother on the left, your father on the right, and all your other relatives and friends are around and behind you as a support. And in front of you are those people you dislike or who have hurt you and are extending in every direction, the strangers, all other beings. Feel that they're all there in human form, sitting quietly like you. And it's difficult to visualize all beings. Try and imagine as many as you can. Stay relaxed. Try not to feel crowded or tense. And imagine a sense of harmony and peace pervades everyone. And consider how nice it would be for yourself and others if you are able to love all these beings. Contemplate that everyone wants to be happy and avoid suffering just as you do. They're all trying to make the best of their lives, even those who are angry and violent. So now just bring to your mind someone you love, someone you're extremely fond of. And here we're just generating a feeling of love in our heart. And just allow your natural good feelings for this person to arise. You can imagine them there in front of you. Maybe some sweet interaction you've had with each other. And you might also want to imagine your love as a warm, bright light. Not physical, but pure positive energy glowing in your heart. Before you can truly love others, you really need to love yourself. So loving yourself means accepting yourself as you are, with your present faults and shortcomings, and recognizing you have the potential to free yourself from all your problems. So really wish for yourself all the happiness and goodness there is, and imagine that the warm energy in your heart expands until it completely fills your body and your mind. If you have a habit of being critical and judgmental and even angry towards yourself, it's going to take time to change this. You're probably not going to suddenly feel love for yourself. But if you say to yourself, may I be happy. May I have what I need to feel happy, safe, loved, and satisfied. Then gradually, these thoughts and feelings will grow and become genuine. It's enough for now just to think this way and say these words to yourself. May I feel loved. May I have what I need to feel happy, safe, satisfied. Now meditate on love for others. Start with your family and your close friends sitting near you and say in your mind words such as, may you be happy. May you have what you need to feel happy, safe, loved, and satisfied. May all your thoughts be positive and all your experiences good. May you be free of problems, sickness, sadness. May your lives be long and peaceful, and may you quickly reach enlightenment. And imagine the warm, luminous energy radiating from your body and touching them and filling their bodies and minds, bringing them the happiness they wish for. Again, don't worry if you don't actually feel love. It's enough just to say these words and think these thoughts. And in time, the feelings will come. And think now of some people that you're not so close to. They could be people you work with or neighbors, fellow shoppers in the supermarket, fellow drivers on the road, and reflect that they, just like you, want to be happy and deserve to be happy. And see if you can feel the wish for them to be happy by thinking, may you be happy. May you have what you need to feel happy, safe, loved, and satisfied. May all your thoughts be positive and all your experiences good. May you be free of problems, sickness, and sadness. May your lives be long and peaceful, and may you quickly reach enlightenment. And then send them the radiant energy of love from your heart and imagine that they experience the happiness they wish for. And now turn your attention to the people in front of you, the ones you don't like or that you have difficulty with. And contemplate that they also need and deserve your love. Wish them to be free of the confusion, anger, and self-centeredness that drive them to act the way they do. And really want them to find peace of mind, happiness, and finally enlightenment. And think and try to feel sincerely, may you be happy. May you have what you need to feel happy, safe, loved, and satisfied. May all your thoughts be positive and all your experiences good. May you be free of problems, sickness, and sadness. May your lives be long and peaceful, and may you quickly reach enlightenment. And imagine that the radiant energy of love flows from your heart to them, and they experience the happiness they wish for. And continue to send your positive, warm feelings out to all the other people around you. Love is an unlimited spring of good energy. So you shouldn't worry that it's going to run out. Completely open your heart and imagine your love flowing to every direction, reaching all the beings who are lonely or sick or hungry or confused, oppressed, frustrated, frightened. Their suffering disappears and their minds become peaceful, clear, and full of pure happiness. Wish them to have every good experience from the satisfaction of ordinary needs and desires all the way to enlightenment. Concentrate on this feeling of love just for a little moment. So I want you to take away from tonight's session, this evening's session, this idea that you do definitely have the potential to love everyone, even those who annoy or hurt you, and those that you don't even know. You do definitely have the ability to offer this love to yourself and generate a strong wish to work on all these things that you want to release. And all the other issues and problems in your life that prevent you from being able to even receive and feel or have such love. So keep your mind open, keep some space in your heart for this connecting with this pure universal love, and thus happiness for yourself and others. Okay. All right, everyone. So how did that land, that meditation?
That was wonderful. That's Phyllis.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Phyllis.
Yeah. And I saw something more clearly tonight, in spite of all the fear and anxiety I'm struggling with.
Oh, yeah.
But how it extends out into other issues, and I hadn't seen how, until now, I hadn't seen
Cool.
how. So thank you very much.
No, you're the one that's doing the work, my friend.
Mhm. But
Yeah.
I was really relaxed for this last one, and it's the first one
Oh,
I've
good.
really relaxed for.
Good. I'm really happy to hear. It's wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful to hear you talk, and thank you very much for sharing all your feedback, particularly how you're feeling anxious. It's sort of not everybody would want to share that, and I think it's helpful for everyone to hear. So thank you. Lou, yes.
I just wanted to mention this last meditation. When we did feeling the love for someone, I was thinking of my daughter, and I was feeling all this wonderful love for her. And then somehow in the middle of it all, it changed from my love for her to her love for me. And it's
Oh my goodness.
the first time I emotionally felt it. I intellectually was always there, but it just turned around and my loving her to her loving me.
That is so cool. Because you know what is so interesting about that, Lou, when we were doing the mindfulness meditation course, and I was asking you in that course to feel the touch of the back of the skin on the palm of the hand, and then the back of the hand being touched by the skin, you said you couldn't feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So what you've experienced now is exactly the same thing, except it's more of a energetic thing. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think also too, you know, a lot of people have difficulty receiving love. Like they have difficulty receiving, and this is why we get so caught up in attachment. People have difficulty receiving praise and compliments. They can't take it in. And sometimes it's almost like too overwhelming when someone loves you to be able to kind of take all that love and put it in this tiny little heart that's a bit like a rock. Do you know what I mean? Okay, we have one more minute. Let's just dedicate all the merit we've created this evening to all these people of our life, to our wonderful, beautiful, hardworking teachers that are guiding us along the path, and for all sentient beings. And I look forward to seeing some of you in about 30 minutes. And enjoy your rest, enjoy your dinner if that's what you're doing now. And thank you so much for hosting, Michael. Not sorry, Michael, Lou. What are you talking about? Okay.